When I bought the cabin on Whispering Peak, it felt like a dream come true. After years of city noise, traffic, and neighbors who couldn't mind their own business, the idea of a quiet retreat tucked deep in the mountains sounded like heaven. The realtor said it wasn't part of any HOA, which made it even better. No one telling me what color my cabin could be or how long I could keep my truck parked in the driveway. Just me, the pines, and the sound of wind brushing through the trees. The first drive up, there was pure magic. The road twisted like a ribbon through the forest, narrow but private, lined with old maples. I noticed a few large, modern houses on the lower slopes, HOA territory. Big signs warned private community, HOA members only, but my cabin was further up, beyond their jurisdiction. I smiled every time I passed those gates, thinking how I had escaped all that nonsense. The first time I met Karen was the day I moved in. She appeared at the end of my gravel driveway, wearing designer sunglasses, a neon jogging suit, and that unmistakable look of someone ready for confrontation. "Excuse me," she said, waving her arms like she was directing traffic. "You can't just move in here. This area is part of the Evergreen Ridge HOA." I told her politely that she was mistaken. My property was outside the HOA. She didn't believe me, of course. Karen never does. "Oh, really?" she said with a laugh that could peel paint. "Everyone up here follows the HOA rules. Everyone. So you'll need to paint your cabin within regulation colors, remove that old mailbox, and no off-road vehicles are allowed past the gate." I kept my cool and showed her my deed, which clearly stated I was exempt. Her smile vanished like a dropped signal. She muttered something about checking with the board and stormed off down the hill. For the next few weeks, life was peaceful. I spent my mornings hiking and my evenings by the fireplace. But then the harassment started. HOA letters, stuffed in my mailbox even though they had no right, demanding compliance. Notes left on my door warning of fines. One morning I woke to find someone had spray-painted "Rule Breaker" on my fence. I had no proof, but I could guess who was behind it. I considered calling the sheriff, but I wanted to play this smart. Instead, I started digging into property records. If Karen wanted to play games, I was going to find out exactly how deep her power went. That's when I noticed something strange. The private road everyone in the HOA used to reach their luxury homes actually cut right through a narrow strip of land attached to my property. According to the county map, that strip was deeded to me. At first, I thought it had to be a mistake. But when I pulled up the documents from the land registry, I nearly dropped my coffee. The road, the only road that led to their entire community, technically belonged to me. Every car that drove through there was using my land without permission. And Karen, the self-proclaimed queen of rules, had no idea. What would you do if the very people who harassed you had to use your road every single day? I could have gone straight for revenge. I could have blocked the road or demanded payment. But I decided to wait. I wanted to see how far Karen would go before realizing the irony of her situation. Sure enough, within a week, she showed up again, holding a clipboard and a fake smile. "We've decided to fine you," she said. $200 for non-compliance. You'll need to pay within 10 days. I took the paper, looked her in the eye, and smiled. "Karen," I said calmly, "before we talk about your fine, maybe we should discuss road ownership." She blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" I pointed to the road behind her. "That's my land. You've all been using it without permission." For the first time, she looked genuinely speechless. Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. "That's impossible," she stammered. I handed her a copy of the county map and the deed. Her eyes darted across the paper, and I saw the exact moment she realized I wasn't bluffing. She turned pale. "I'll have to talk to the board," she mumbled, backing away. I just smiled and said, "You do that." When she drove off, I couldn't help laughing. The thought of Karen reporting to her HOA about how the non-compliant outsider owned their only access road was poetic justice. But little did I know, that was only the beginning. Because when petty people lose power, they don't give up, they double down. And Karen was about to make this war personal. That didn't see Karen for a few days after dropping that little property bombshell on her. And honestly, I thought maybe she'd finally gotten the message. Maybe, just maybe, she realized she couldn't boss everyone around. But that peace lasted less than a week. One morning, I woke up to find a bright orange notice nailed to one of my trees, right at the edge of the road. It read, "Illegal obstruction of HOA access route. Remove your gate or face legal action." I laughed out loud. I didn't even have a gate. They just decided to make one up. But the more I read, the angrier I got. The letter threatened to sue me for denying entry to their members and tampering with community property. The audacity was unreal. I was the one being trespassed against, yet they were acting like victims. It was classic HOA drama. Except this time, they'd picked the wrong person. I decided to document everything. Photos, videos, copies of deeds, you name it. Then I called the county clerk's office, who confirmed again that the road was absolutely mine. They even mentioned that, technically, I could charge toll fees if I wanted. That gave me an idea, a wickedly funny one. A few days later, I posted a simple wooden sign at the start of the road. It read, "Private property, road use fee, $50 per vehicle per day." I didn't expect anyone to actually pay, of course, but I wanted to make a point. Within hours, Karen came storming up the hill, red-faced and trembling like a teapot about to boil over. "You can't do this," she shrieked, slamming her SUV door so hard it echoed through the valley. "This is a community road. Not according to the county," I said calmly, sipping my coffee. "You're welcome to use it, but it'll cost you $50 per day. Cash, Venmo, whatever's easier." Her jaw dropped. "You're blackmailing the HOA." "No, Karen," I said, pointing to the sign. "I'm just following the rules. My property, my choice. Isn't that what your HOA loves to say?" Her face twisted like she'd swallowed a lemon. "You'll regret this," she hissed before jumping back in her car and speeding down the hill, tires spinning on the gravel. The next week was chaos. I had trucks from the HOA driving up to take photos, surveyors walking around with measuring tapes, and even one guy with a drone trying to map the road. I waved to them every time. I wasn't worried. I had legal ownership, and their panic only made it sweeter. But then things escalated. One evening, I was sitting on my porch when I heard engines revving. Headlights appeared through the trees, 3 black SUVs, all stopping right at the start of my drive. Karen got out, followed by 2 men in suits. They introduced themselves as HOA board members, and one handed me a letter thicker than a novel. "We're filing for an injunction," he said stiffly. "You're interfering with community access and threatening property values." I skimmed the letter. It was full of empty threats and fake legal language. "You might want to check your facts," I said, "because unless you plan on building a new road through government land, you're all trespassing on mine." Karen crossed her arms. "We'll see what the judge says." Well, she was half right. We did end up in court, but it didn't go how she hoped. The county judge looked through the records and laughed, actually laughed. He said, "Ma'am, this gentleman owns the only legal access to your community. You've been using it for free for years." Then he looked at me and said, "Technically, sir, you could charge rent or block it off entirely." Karen turned the color of a ripe tomato. "This can't be happening," she cried. "He can't just take our road." The judge raised an eyebrow. "It's his land. You should have done your due diligence before assuming otherwise." Case dismissed. That victory felt incredible. I walked out of that courthouse like a man who just won the lottery. But I wasn't done yet, because when I got home, I realized the HOA had taken things one step further. They'd blocked me from entering their neighborhood Facebook group. Apparently, I was now the enemy. So I did what any sane person would do. I made my own Facebook page. I called it the Road Owner Chronicles. I posted updates, pictures, and funny videos about the ongoing HOA meltdown. To my surprise, people loved it. The first post got a few hundred views, then thousands. Everyone wanted to see Karen's latest outburst. It became a mini viral series. Have you ever seen someone so obsessed with control that they destroy themselves trying to get it back? Karen's obsession was turning legendary. She filed noise complaints, even though I live miles away. She tried sending county inspectors, who left laughing when they realized there were no violations. Then, one morning, I woke up to find a handwritten note on my porch. "We'll pay for the road," it said, but we want ownership transferred immediately. I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my coffee. She wanted to buy the road. The same woman who'd told me I didn't belong up here now wanted to hand me a check just to get her power back. So I came up with a better plan. I told her I'd consider it, but only if she agreed to film a public apology video. I wanted her to say on camera that she was wrong and that she'd harassed me for no reason. She exploded. "Never," she screamed over the phone. "You'll regret this." Then she hung up. The next morning, the chaos reached new heights. The HOA members gathered at the road entrance, cameras rolling, demanding justice. But when local news showed up, yes, the news, things took a hilarious turn. The reporter asked me for a statement, and I smiled right into the camera and said, "Well, if you're enjoying this drama as much as I am, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video." The clip went viral overnight. Millions of people laughed at Karen's stunned face as I said it. Memes popped up everywhere. Suddenly, I was internet famous, the guy who owned the HOA's road. But as funny as it was, I could feel the tension building. Karen wasn't done. And when she finally struck back, it wouldn't be with words. It would be something far darker. The video of me saying subscribe to the channel and like the video spread faster than wildfire. Within a few days, millions of people had watched it. My inbox filled with messages from people who'd fought with HOAs, landlords, and bullies just like Karen. Some called me a hero. Others offered to buy t-shirts that said, "Road Owner Rights." I was enjoying the fame, but I knew Karen wasn't the type to let something like that go. She was too proud, too petty, and way too obsessed with control. For a few blissful weeks, things were quiet. No angry notes, no threats, no random people snooping around. I started to think maybe she'd finally realized she'd lost. But that peace didn't last. It never does with people like her. One night around 11 p.m., I was sitting by the fireplace when I saw headlights creeping up the mountain. They stopped just beyond my fence. Then I heard footsteps, several of them. I stepped outside with a flashlight and saw 3 figures in dark hoodies. They froze when the light hit them, then bolted back toward the road. I couldn't see faces, but I didn't need to. I knew exactly who was behind it. The next morning, I found my private property sign smashed to pieces. My fence had been cut, and someone had dumped garbage bags full of leaves and dirt on my driveway. It was childish, but infuriating. I called the sheriff's office, filed a report, and installed cameras everywhere. I even put up motion-activated floodlights. Karen had crossed the line. A few days later, she came marching up my driveway in broad daylight, holding her phone and recording everything like she was filming a reality show. "You're harassing me," she said, spinning the camera toward my property. "This man is endangering our community." I laughed. "Karen, you broke my fence and dumped trash on my land. That's your opinion," she said smugly. "The HOA voted. You're a nuisance. We're petitioning the county to revoke your road ownership." I raised an eyebrow. "That's not how property law works." She smiled that fake smile. "We'll see." And she really tried. She filed complaints with the county, the sheriff, even the environmental board, claiming I was endangering wildlife with my floodlights. But every agency came back with the same response: no violations. The more she pushed, the more ridiculous she looked. People online started calling her Mountain Karen. There were memes, reaction videos, even fan remixes of her shouting, "You'll regret this." Question: have you ever seen someone so desperate to win that they destroy their own reputation trying? The story should have ended there, but then something strange happened. One morning, I noticed a "for sale" sign in front of Karen's house. I almost didn't believe it. After all her threats, after all her obsession with control, she was leaving? I felt a little disappointed, to be honest. It was like the villain of my favorite movie had just vanished before the final act. But that feeling didn't last, because a week later, the sign was gone, and Karen's SUV was back in the driveway. That's when I got a call from a local reporter. "Mr. Dawson," he said, "did you know the HOA just tried to file an easement claim on your road?" I froze. "What?" He explained that the HOA had quietly submitted paperwork to the county requesting a public right-of-way through my land. If it had gone through, they'd have permanent access, free, no payment, no permission, nothing. It was sneaky and illegal, but they were trying to beat me through bureaucracy. That was the last straw. I gathered every document, every video, every recorded interaction, and made a brand new video titled, HOA Tries to Steal My Road. You won't believe what happened next. It wasn't just a rant. It was a full expose. I showed the forged easement forms, Karen's tantrums, the court documents, even the security footage of her late-night vandalism crew. I ended the video with one line, "Don't ever let bullies think they own you. Stand your ground." Oh, and if you love seeing justice served, subscribe to the channel and like the video. It exploded. 10 million views in a week. National outlets picked up the story. Talk shows mentioned it. HOA members from across the country reached out, sharing their horror stories. And guess what? Some of Karen's own neighbors started turning on her. Apparently, she'd bullied half of them too. They'd just been too scared to speak up until now. Then came the ultimate twist. One afternoon, a letter arrived from the county office. It wasn't about complaints or permits. It was an offer. The local government wanted to officially purchase the road from me, to make it a public route. They were offering a small fortune, enough to buy another cabin, maybe two. But there was one condition. The HOA had to publicly admit they'd been wrong to trespass and issue an apology before the sale could finalize. I couldn't believe it. The county had seen how viral the story was and wanted to turn it into a PR win. Karen was furious. "We will never apologize to that man," she shouted during a community meeting that, of course, someone recorded and uploaded online. The video hit 1 million views in 2 days. Her defiance only made things worse. Sponsors started pulling out of the HOA's community fundraisers. Local businesses distanced themselves. Even her husband stopped showing up to meetings. The pressure was crushing her. And then, on a quiet Saturday morning, she showed up at my door. No sunglasses, no camera, no clipboard. Just a tired, defeated woman. "I'm here to apologize," she said softly. "This has gone too far. I just wanted to keep the neighborhood nice, but I lost control." I nodded. "You did, but you can fix it." She took a deep breath and held up her phone. "Can I record it?" "Go ahead." The video she posted that afternoon shocked everyone. Karen admitted she'd harassed me, forged complaints, and tried to steal my land. She even told people to subscribe to my channel, so they could see how justice actually works. I didn't expect that part, but I had to admit, it made me laugh. Within days, the county approved the road purchase. I accepted the deal, donated a big chunk of the money to a local wildlife foundation, and kept my cabin exactly the way I wanted. Karen moved out 2 weeks later. Her house sold to a young couple who, funny enough, told me they'd found the listing because of my viral videos. It was poetic. The mountain was peaceful again. No more HOA letters, no threats, no fake fines, just pine trees, wind, and silence. But sometimes, late at night, I scroll through the old videos and laugh. The whole saga started because someone couldn't stand the idea of not being in control. Yet in the end, she gave me more peace, fame, and fortune than I ever could have imagined. And the best part? Every time a new subscriber joins my channel, I picture Karen somewhere out there, hearing that little notification sound, and grinding her teeth just a bit harder. Months passed after Karen's public apology, and life on Whispering Peak became everything I'd once dreamed it could be: quiet, simple, and peaceful. The pines still whispered with the wind, the creek still hummed softly at night, and the stars shone like diamonds over the cabin roof. My viral fame started to fade into something steadier. I wasn't just the road guy anymore. I was the storyteller of the mountains. People follow my channel to hear about life off the grid, mountain living tips, and yes, the occasional tale of neighborhood drama. But no matter how far I tried to move past it, Karen's shadow lingered. Every time I looked down the road, I half expected to see her neon tracksuit marching up the hill again. She was gone, sure, but not forgotten. The HOA had crumbled after her exit. Without their self-appointed queen, the board split into chaos. Half the members wanted peace. The other half wanted revenge for the embarrassment she'd caused. Rumors spread that Karen had moved to another state to start fresh. Then, one frosty morning in January, I got a letter. No envelope, just folded paper wedged under my door. It read, "You were right. About everything. I thought rules made people safe, but I used them to hide from my own fears. Losing control broke me, but it also freed me. Thank you for teaching me that peace doesn't come from power. It comes from letting go. Okay. I stared at it for a long time, unsure how to feel. It didn't sound like the Karen I knew. It sounded like someone who'd finally learned humility. For a moment, I wondered if I'd been too harsh, if maybe the whole feud had pushed her too far. But then again, that's how life works up here. The mountain humbles everyone eventually. The letter gave me an idea. I turned it into a story from my channel. A reflective one this time, not dramatic or viral. I called it The Karen Who Found Peace. I talked about forgiveness, pride, and how easy it is to lose sight of kindness when you're chasing control. It wasn't meant to blow up, but it did. Millions of people commented saying they'd cried, that they'd seen a bit of themselves in Karen's struggle, or that they'd finally decided to let go of grudges in their own lives. And then came the biggest twist of all. About 2 months later, I got a call from a production company in Los Angeles. They wanted to turn my story, the entire road saga, into a limited docuseries. I thought it was a prank at first, but they were serious. They'd seen the viral clips, the memes, the apology video, and my reflections afterward. They wanted to show the whole arc, from chaos and comedy to forgiveness and redemption. The crazy part? They wanted Karen too. I didn't think she'd ever agree, but she did. When the crew came to the mountain for filming, I saw her again for the first time in nearly a year. She looked older, calmer, different somehow. No clipboard, no designer sunglasses, just a plain sweater and a nervous smile. I wasn't sure you'd show up, I said as we shook hands. I owed it to the story, she said quietly, and maybe to myself. The interview started off awkward, but as the cameras rolled, something shifted. Karen admitted everything. The lies, the fines, the control issues, the fear of losing authority. She said the mountain had changed her more than she ever expected. When she spoke about how she'd watched my channel secretly after moving away, her voice cracked. You made me realize, she said softly, that sometimes the people we try to control are the ones we should learn from. That moment wasn't about winning or losing anymore. It was about closure. For both of us. When the docuseries premiered, it broke viewing records. The final episode showed the apology scene side by side with her confession and the note she'd left under my door. The credits rolled with one last clip of me standing on a mountain road at sunset, saying, "You can't pave over the truth. It always finds its way through the cracks." If you enjoyed this story of forgiveness, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video, because sometimes even the worst feuds can end with peace. The series didn't just change our lives, it changed the whole town. Tourism picked up. People came to see the famous road. The county even renamed it Peaceful Pass. Someone put up a sign at the entrance that said, "Once owned by a man who taught an HOA what ownership really means." I couldn't have written a better ending myself. But life has a way of writing sequels when you least expect them. One spring evening, I was sitting on my porch watching the sun dip behind the ridges when a small car pulled up. A woman stepped out, mid-20s, curly hair, nervous smile. "Hi," she said. "You don't know me, but Karen was my mom." I froze. "Your mom?" She nodded. "She passed away last month. Heart condition. But before she died, she told me to come here and give you this." She handed me a small wooden box. Inside was a key and a note. "For the man who taught me peace. This key opens the new cabin I built before I got sick.